Hello everybody, this is Refresh and I'm here to talk about my Tarkir Dragonstorm pre-release that I attended this past Saturday at Emerald Knights Comics Games in Burbank. This is one of those occasional sets where the pre-release experience incorporates part of the set's themes into the experience. This is a clan-based set and the different clans all offer their own specific mechanic, but for the purposes of this pre-release and other clan or school or guild based pre-releases, you can choose which clan that you are representing. And so in this case, we were randomly assigned by Emerald Knights a clan, and I got the Jeskai clan. And then we were allowed to trade the allegiances before we started opening our boxes and playing. And so that's what happened here. And so this is the Jeskai box. There are 4 other different boxes that you could potentially obtain and play. And each one has different art and a different logo on the side here. In this case it says Act as One. And you'll have the clan symbol on the back as well as the colors and everything represented on the box here. And so that is a nice change of pace from the pretty plain pre-releases that we've generally experienced. It's not just for the artwork, obviously. So when you open the pack inside, you're going to get one of the 6 packs is going to be entirely dedicated to your particular clan. So all the cards in there will be of the colors in that clan, which will heavily tilt the pre-release kit towards playing your main clan colors. Now, the rest of the packs may not agree with that, but more often than not, it will push people to playing to your clan's colors. As for Tarkir Dragonstorm, this is our first revisiting of Tarkir since it was introduced almost 10 years ago. Tarkir was one of my favorite limited sets and also a wonderfully rich set in terms of its themes with its different clans, its dragons, and the things that were happening on it. And so I have very fond memories of the set, and I'm really glad to return. I read all the stories about Dragonstorm, and the stories were better than what we experienced with Aetherrift, but there are still some ongoing creative elements of current magic that I find to be a little less interesting. But it's certainly an upgrade to the stories aside from Bloomborough as of late. So I appreciate that as well. So I'm enjoying the creative overall, especially the coherency of the set and the depth to which they explore Tarkir. And so I like that a lot. So when you go to pre-release, you get one of these boxes. You open it on the side, you can open it up. And inside it tells you a little bit more about the clan that you are a part of. And the outer wrapping cardboard also includes counters and tokens that you can use. Inside you'll get your deck box, and if you look inside here, even inside here has some art that if you pop this open, you can keep this as some cool little art if you want. And then the deck box is also geared to your particular clan. So this is the Jeskai box. Inside you'll get your spin down counter, which is specific to your clan as well. So this is the Jeskai spin down, as you can see by the little eye here. And then it has interesting coloration, very uncommon, but it's appreciated that it's a little different than usual. Inside you also get your promo card, and this is not specific to your clan. So as you can see, I got an Abzan card here. You'll get your tip sheet, which gives you information on how to build a pre-release deck. This is the same as it's always been. And this side gives you a little bit of information about each of the clans, which is a nice means of further getting into the set and the theming of the set. So I appreciate this. Wish there's more, but this is still a little something. I don't know if each of the card dividers are unique to the specific clans. So if you have any experience with your pre-release kit, and if you see anything different, let me know. But this is the card divider that comes in. This is also some lovely artwork there. Very much a fan of the artwork for this set. And then you get 6 packs of Magic the Gathering, one of which is your clan-specific pack. And that pack is, as I mentioned, full of cards exclusively from your clan. Although not all the cards in the pack will necessarily have clan-specific mechanics. Like, they're not all flurry cards. You might have cards in that pack that are actually leaning towards one of the other clan's abilities. So all you got to do for your pre-release is build your 60 card deck, and then you go into games. But let's first show you everything that I opened in the packs. So here are all the cards that I opened. And as you can see from just looking at the cards laid out, the Jeskai colors had the most number of cards. The two main Abzan colors, green and black, had a significantly less number of cards, so there were less options. Now, granted, some of my strongest cards in this pool are actually Abzan cards. The Quarcy Revenants, the DCs over there, and you also have the Severance Priest and Revival of the Ancestors, all as Abzan cards. So I could not play with any of those if I was going to play Jeskai. Obviously, the color overlap is just in white, and so splashing both green and black seems a bit of a fail case, especially since some of the cards require more than one color splash. And so it was really obvious to me that I just needed to play Jeskai. And so I put black and green aside, and then any cards that required both of those colors, and then looked at what my options were in Jeskai, and maybe splashing into a little bit of green or a little bit of black, but not both, to see what kind of decks I could make. Now, it was really apparent to me that I had more than enough cards for a Jeskai deck, because as soon as I put all the rest of the remaining cards that were just in Jeskai colors only, I had over 40 cards in the deck. And so from there, I took a really close look at the type of deck that I was trying to sculpt, and I had three options to cut things down. And I think the most logical way to do it was to choose two of the three colors to focus on as the main colors, and then include the third color as a splash for its strongest cards. Now, in blue, the highlighting card was Ambling Stormshell, which is a great draw engine and a hulking beast of a card for just 5 mana. And so that is one of the biggest pulls into blue. And then it also had a number of good card draw spells as well. The biggest pull into red was the Kori Steel Cutter, which with a flurry effect can create a 1/1 monk, and so it is a way to generate a lot of creatures. And then white didn't have a bomb of any sort to speak of, but it did have a lot of very cheap aggressive creatures. And so for me, because of pure volume of cards, blue and red, one of those would have to be the main color, and then the others would either complement or be a tertiary color. And when I looked at the combinations of the cards, the ways that they lined up best were either blue and red together or white and red together. I felt like blue and white didn't have quite as much synergy together as a color combination because of the aggressiveness of the white and the more controlling card advantage nature of the blue, whereas red and white had a lot of aggressive combination. And then blue and red, when put together, had a lot more flurry combination because white didn't offer any card draw. And so you need the card draw of the blue in order to give you the fuel you need to cast 2 cards in a turn. So I had to choose between the red-white deck and the red-blue deck. So here's the deck that I built. I ended up leaning more towards the red-blue deck than the white-red deck. And that's primarily because the most fun card in my pool for me was Ambling Stormshell, because when it attacks, you can draw 3 cards. And I thought that that was a lot more exciting than playing a low-to-the-ground white-red aggro deck. And so that's the way that I went with this particular deck. As you can see, it leans into the flurry mechanic, with the 3 devoted duelists potentially doing a lot of damage, and I have a lot of relatively cheap cards here. I do think that there is a weakness in the deck, of course, being the large number of 5 mana spells here. But I did have 17 full lands here, and a reasonable amount of fixing with multiple dual lands and evolving wilds to help me make sure that I can hit the right colors at the right times. And a little bit of ramp with the Sunset Strike Master, helping me get up to these more expensive spells as well. The Runescale Stormbrood and the Durgar Island Dragon both also offer the ability to chain spells to turn on the flurry mechanic as well. And so that is the deck. And then it was time for the games. As usual for Emerald Knights, the sealed deck tournament is for just 3 matches, and there's a flat prize structure, and so everybody gets the same rewards, which is 2 packs of the current set, which is Tarkir Dragonstorm. So this is what I got for playing. And against my first opponent, I was up against a Mardu deck, and in the first game, I kept a hand that was a little bit slow, and my opponent kept a much faster hand. And so I was stuck without many plays because I managed to draw primarily into my 5 drops and couldn't do anything for a while aside from play a few creatures here and there that traded against my opponent's increasing mobilizing creatures, and eventually that overwhelmed me so fast that my life total dropped in a few swings and I died pretty quickly, even though I was able to do a little bit of damage here with some flurry and some attacks and draw a huge ton of cards with the new way forward at one point. But that wasn't enough, and my opponent overcame me pretty quickly and I lost. The second game in the match, my opponent had to mulligan to 6. I was again on the play, but this time I got mana screwed. I kept a 2-lander and I just could not draw the additional lands that I needed for almost the entire game. And so my opponent just played cards, and not even their best cards. And the moment I started to stabilize and cast actual spells, my opponent played Elspeth. And it was over for me, because you're not beating that Planeswalker. Taking pity on me after 2 very quick resounding defeats, my opponent played an additional game with me, and on the third game, my opponent also completely crushed me with very little room for breathing because they were very aggressive and my deck was just a little bit slow. And so we lost that one. In between the matches, my opponent recommended that I make a change to the deck. And so I traded out one of my Humbling Elders for a Monastery Messenger, which will help me replay some of my spells that I need. And so with that update, I went on to my second match. This was also against a Mardu deck. And in the first game, I ran into the same problem as the previous match's first game, in which I mostly drew expensive cards and didn't have the mana to cast them, and while my opponent was actually building a board. And then they had me at such a low life total that even when I was able to cast my bigger, more expensive spells, they were so far ahead that they didn't have enough of an effect, and so I lost pretty resoundingly in the first game. And my opponent was also on the play, so that helped them as well. In the second game, I was on the play, and for once my deck actually ended up working out. To some extent, I was able to play things and move forward, but my opponent got mana screwed pretty badly on one of their colors, and so in this case, I was mostly winning because I was able to play things and my opponent was not. And so by the time that they were able to get additional lands, they were just moving so slow in response to what I was able to achieve on the board that there was no getting around it. And so I won this second game, and then on to the third game and final game, my opponent was again on the play, and they just played cards on curve and crushed me because I had too many expensive cards and their effect was a little bit weak compared to what my opponent was up to. Part of it was I didn't draw the mana I needed to play the cards on time, and my opponent also killed my mana ramp, which was going to let me play my dragon on time. Of course, they had a lot more synergistic cards playing together, and so I got overrun pretty badly and was never able to recover from that situation. They also took pity on me by the speed of which they defeated me, and we played an extra game, and they also again overwhelmed me really quickly with their aggressive deck. And so I'm not sure that the Jeskai deck is especially competitive against an aggressive deck, and I think that in retrospect, playing the red-white deck would have been a lot more consistent, and the aggression would have helped me overcome the opponents that I had been up against. Although the power level of my red-white deck is certainly a lot lower than the blue and red deck that I had, because there's so little card draw in that combination that I'm not sure that I would have actually been able to win against my opponent's cards, which were a lot better attuned to aggression. So I'm not sure that that would have actually led to a win, but I wasn't able to explore whether this deck could make it any further, because for my third match, I got a bye, and so I walked up, collected my participation packs, and then left the store for home. And that was my Tarkir Dragonstorm experience. I would say that in the larger scope of pre-releases, as of late, this is a little bit better. And that's primarily because these pre-release kits do a lot to help you feel a little bit more into the theming of the set. Aligning you with a clan and everything does make you feel a little bit more like you want to support that clan and you want to know more about the clan, and so that really helps versus just the plain old sealed deck experiences that the last several sets have mostly been. And so I like that about this particular pre-release. Otherwise, it was pretty much like all the other pre-releases. There wasn't any special art or special events or special other anything to do aside from play some sealed magic. And I don't know how I feel about the set mechanically and in terms of the speed. I did play against 2 Mardu aggro decks, and so I'm not sure that this is going to be representative of everybody's experiences playing this in sealed. And you know, Jeskai obviously got completely overrun by the Mardu decks in my personal experience. But it leaves me wondering whether or not Tarkir Dragonstorm is going to be a fun limited set. And I think that I have too little experience to know that for sure. So I'm asking you to let me know about your experiences with the Tarkir Dragonstorm pre-release in the comments below to see how your games went and to see if there was a little bit more variety rather than everybody getting run over by Mardu aggression. Other than that, if you found this video enjoyable, hit the like button. If you'd like to see more of my videos, you can hit subscribe. This is Refresh. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.